A black general, his uniform shining with the weight of battles past, each star earned, not given, stood cuffed and slammed against the hard steel of a patrol car. This was no war zone. It was a quiet little town in Virginia, drowsy and tucked off the I-95. And yet, in that stillness, two officers branded him a fake. A fraud. A man in a costume. Too proud, too confident for the color of his skin. They couldn't or wouldn't see the truth. Not until one phone call to the Pentagon shattered their illusion, flipping their small-town world upside down. Lieutenant General Marcus Tate, 52 years old. A name etched into the legacy of the U.S. Army. A powerhouse, decorated in silver, drenched in honor. All he wanted that night was a simple meal in a nowhere town called Greystone. Just a pit stop. A bite before he headed into a high-level intel briefing at Fort Bragg. His silver hair, glinting under the moon. His chest, a tapestry of medals, some earned in firefights most people only read about in history books. He wasn't just a soldier. He was the story. But under those tired diner lights, beside flickering signs and buzzing wires, two cops saw a black man in a sharp uniform. Not a hero. Not a leader. Just someone who didn't belong. And their mistake? Oh, it didn't just cause trouble, it sparked a reckoning. The night didn't begin with tension. It started with hunger. Not confrontation. Marcus pulled up in a rented sedan, the headlights slicing through the cold. Ruby's diner stood there like a glowing promise. Hot food, a little warmth, maybe even 5 minutes of silence. He'd been driving for 6 hours straight, bone-tired but focused. He stepped out, his dress blues perfect, shoulders squared, 3 polished stars catching the soft glint of the night sky. Inside, the bell above the door gave a little jingle. Heads turned. A trucker paused mid-bite. A kid stared. A waitress offered a warm smile. Marcus nodded, calm and composed, slipping into a corner booth. Cheeseburger, black coffee. Classic. He pulled out his phone. A flood of Pentagon emails. One text from Sheila, his wife. Almost home. Just another night, or so it seemed. Outside, leaning against their cruiser, Officers Dale Ramsey and Travis Holt smoked under the buzzing street lamp. Ramsey, thick-set, eyes narrowed in judgment. "Nice car for this hole," he muttered. Holt, younger, lean, and arrogant, nodded slowly. "Military plates. But that dude? Looks like he's playing dress-up." They didn't run the plates. Didn't radio for confirmation. They just watched, silent tension building, like a match an inch from the flame. Back inside, Marcus took slow bites, savoring the diner's greasy comfort. Around him, silverware clinked, muffled conversations rose and fell. A jukebox crooned some forgotten country ballad. Jenny, the waitress, came back, ponytail swinging, smile still soft. "You stationed nearby?" she asked, genuine curiosity in her tone. "Just passing through," Marcus replied, his voice calm, practiced, polite. "Meeting down south." She nodded, clearly liking his quiet confidence, the way he didn't need to prove who he was. He didn't carry himself like a man who demanded respect. It just followed him. He left a big tip, slid out of the booth, adjusted his tie. His boots echoed across the tiled floor. Out the door. Into the night. The air was sharp, biting. His breath misted, catching the light as he reached for his keys, already thinking about the road ahead. Then, "Hey, you, freeze." The shout cut through the cold like a blade. Marcus froze, one hand half raised. No fear, just the focused stillness of a man who'd survived ambushes in Fallujah. He turned slowly. Officer Ramsey's flashlight hit him straight in the eyes. "Evening, officers," Marcus said, tone calm, hands clearly visible. Ramsey stepped forward, shadows swallowing the space between them. He reeked of smoke and hostility. "That's quite the getup," he sneered, letting the flashlight linger on the stars, the ribbons. "Where'd you get it?" Marcus's jaw tightened, but his words stayed level. "Not a getup. I'm Lieutenant General Marcus Tate, U.S. Army." Holt moved in, circling like a shark. "A general, huh? Big guy. Got any ID to back that fairy tale?" Marcus gave a single nod. Left side pocket. Wallet.
Slow.
Real slow. Ramsey barked, one hand drifting toward his holster. Marcus complied, 2 fingers only, moving with deliberate calm. Holt snatched the wallet, popped it open. Military ID, photo, all there. Still, he tossed it to Ramsey. Could be fake. Ramsey's voice was thick with judgment. You don't look like any general I've seen. The words hit hard. Marcus met his gaze. Didn't blink. And how many black generals have you met, officer? Or is it just that I don't match the image you keep in your head? The tension could be cut with a knife. A few people stood at the diner's door now, phones raised. Jenny stepped out, arms crossed, concern etched across her face. From across the gas station, more eyes turned. Curious. Worried. But Ramsey? He was seething, not ashamed, just furious at being challenged. Don't get clever, he growled, stepping in close. We're verifying this. And if you're lying, you're done. Marcus didn't flinch. Call Fort Bragg. Ask for Colonel Denise Warren. She'll confirm it. Holt gave a sarcastic laugh. Oh, we're not calling bedtime stories in. Hands on the car. Now. Marcus stood his ground. I'm not resisting. But I won't follow unlawful orders. You have no right to detain me. That was it. The trigger. Ramsey lunged, grabbed his arm, wrenched it around, slammed him onto the cold hood of the sedan. His uniform pressed hard against the freezing metal. You want to play tough? Ramsey hissed, breath hot and sharp. Cuffs clicked into place.
Tight.
Cutting. Pain surged, but Marcus stayed silent.
Hardened.
Unbreakable. You're under arrest. Impersonating an officer. Resisting. Holt yanked the cruiser door open, smirking like he'd just scored a win. Marcus didn't fight.
Didn't yell.
Years of combat taught him. Noise feeds chaos. But as Ramsey shoved him forward, Marcus turned slightly, voice clear in the cold. My phone's in my right pocket. My phone, Marcus said, voice sharp, eyes like steel. Right pocket. Call the number labeled Pentagon. Do it now, or I promise you'll wish you had. Ramsey rolled his eyes, scoffing, pushing Marcus harder against the cold metal. Save your bluff for the judge, tough guy, he muttered with contempt. But the street was no longer empty. The crowd had swelled, locals, truckers, late-night passers-by. Phones raised, flashing, filming, whispers turning to growing murmurs. Jenny, the waitress, took a shaky step forward. Her voice wasn't loud, but it had weight. Dale, stop. He didn't do anything. Ramsey spun, face flushed with fury, finger jabbing the air like a weapon. Back off, Jenny, or you're next. She froze, but didn't back down. Didn't look away. Her eyes locked with Marcus's through the window. In that glance, she promised silently, I won't let this be buried. The cruiser door slammed shut behind him, sealing Marcus inside the dark, stale-scented cabin. Leather seats, scratches, old anger soaked into the interior. From his window, he could see the crowd, some outraged, some afraid, all watching. And that's when it hit him. This wasn't just about me anymore. The Greystone police station stood like a relic, square, sour-smelling, and underfunded. Inside, it reeked of bleach and old regret. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like dying wasps, casting pale, trembling shadows. Marcus sat in a bare, cold holding room, his wrists still cuffed, chained to a metal table that looked like it had been through war itself. His once crisp uniform was now creased, dirt smudging one sleeve. Yet still he sat tall, back straight, shoulders square. That posture? Undeniable power. Even now, outside the room, Ramsey and Holt leaned by the door, sipping terrible coffee that matched their attitude, burnt, bitter, and loud. Bet he's got a record a mile long, Holt said, scrolling through a tablet, grinning like a child with gossip. No way you fake it this good, without some practice. Ramsey chuckled, boots scraping the floor lazily. Saw a guy once, bought a whole colonel's kit off eBay. Thought he'd drink for free at the VFW. Same type. just fancier window dressing. Their laughter grated like sandpaper. Still, Marcus didn't flinch. His eyes stayed on the clock. 11:47 p.m. Every tick reminded him, stay calm, stay sharp. This was just another battle, only the battlefield looked different. At 23, a base guard had asked him if he was just playing officer. At 38, a Pentagon admin had double-checked his clearance like he'd snuck in through the loading dock. It never stopped. But he never cracked.
And he wouldn't tonight.
The door creaked open. Long-neglected hinges screamed like something out of a horror movie. Chief Ed Callahan stepped in. Gray mustache drooping, eyes red from too many midnight hours and too little sleep. In his hand, Marcus's wallet. He flipped the ID slowly, studying the photo, the credentials. This says you're a 3-star general, the chief muttered, voice low, rough with skepticism. That true? Or are we all just part of some elaborate con job tonight? Marcus didn't blink. Lieutenant General Marcus Tate. Joint Special Operations Command, he said evenly. Yes, it's true. And your officers would have known that if they had done their jobs instead of playing neighborhood vigilantes. Callahan's frown deepened. He looked to Ramsey, who shrugged with smug indifference. He was mouthy, Chief, Ramsey said, tone dismissive. Didn't cooperate. Something just felt off. Nobody rents a car dressed like that. Marcus leaned forward. The chain rattled. His voice sliced through the room like a blade. Not cooperating? I handed over my ID. Suggested a verification call. Remained calm while your officers insulted me and treated me like a criminal. The only thing off here is their judgment. And every second you let this continue, it's costing you. Callahan shifted uncomfortably, caught between loyalty to his men and the sheer force of Marcus's presence. He stared at the ID again, rubbed the back of his neck, sighed long and hard. Fine, he muttered. One call. But if this is a stunt, you're not walking out of here tonight. He slid the desk phone across the table. It was old, scratched, and tangled in its own cord like a nest of broken promises. Marcus didn't reach for it yet. His eyes lifted, piercing Ramsey and Holt until their smirks faltered. Put it on speaker, he said, voice cold enough to freeze glass. You'll want to hear this too. The buttons beeped. Each press sounded like a ticking clock counting down to truth. The line clicked. Office of the Deputy Secretary, came a crisp, professional voice. Marcus didn't hesitate. This is General Tate. I need Secretary Hargrove. Priority 1. A pause. Then a shift in tone. Yes, sir.
Connecting now.
Ramsey opened his mouth to snort, but the sound died in his throat the moment the speaker filled with her voice. Sharp. Commanding. Ice and thunder wrapped in velvet. Marcus? Where the hell are you? And what's going on? No greetings. No formalities. Just raw authority. Marcus stayed calm. Precise. Greystone, Virginia. Local PD, arrested. Impersonation charge.
Cuffed. Detained.
No verification. No due process.
I need this resolved. Now.
Silence. Just for a moment. Then, detonation. Chief, who am I speaking to? Callahan swallowed.
Hard.
Ed Callahan, ma'am. Police chief. Hargrove didn't miss a beat. Then you'd better listen very carefully, Chief Callahan.